Welcome to Tapod's Solution Series.
In the Solution Series, you'll hear from industry partners as they roll out new products, updates and offerings specifically developed to support TA and HR functions.
So boil that kettle, grab a wine or hit the gym and be prepared to be blown away.
Today's episode of Tapod Solution Series launches in
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hi everyone and welcome to the special Solution Series of Tapod. I'm Craig.
And I'm Lauren, and we've got an amazing guest here today.
kick
The
it off.
wonderful Elliot Gibb from Mercu. Elliot, welcome.
Welcome, Elliot.
Hello. It's very good to be here. Thanks for having me.
This is like making a movie bigger than Ben-Hur. This is like epic Gladiator 2. This series.
Yeah, we've had a couple of false starts, haven't we? Just a couple of false starts. But today we're very, very excited to really understand more about Mercu. But before we do, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, Elliot, how Mercu came to being, and also maybe even the big story behind the name?
Happy to share more. So, first of all, as you can tell, I'm not from Australia, originally from the UK. No way.
Bloody one of the convicts that came out.
Whoa. I'm immediately off to a flyer. So, I was in Singapore during COVID. I was working for a ride-hailing company called Grab. It's sort of the Uber of Southeast Asia. And it became sort of immediately obvious a couple of months in that there was a lot of technology that was being built for people that sat behind a desk and not a lot of technology being built for those that were basically keeping the wheels of the world turning throughout that terrible time. And so actually, originally we set out to start something completely different. So my co-founder Yasha and I, we originally set out to create the LinkedIn for frontline. Right. Turns out that was a incredibly difficult, challenging problem to solve. But through the few customers that we did have, as we spoke to them and we tried to kind of see where we could potentially help them, there was one consistent story from everyone. Hiring is near impossible. And we asked them why. How are you hiring today? And I won't name names, I won't name and shame, but one very well-known hotel group was telling me about their recruitment process. And they were telling me that still CVs were being printed and put into filing cabinets, and they were emailing candidates and they were calling candidates. And I'm like, hey, are your candidates like 21 years old just looking for a quick weekend job? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, and sorry, and you're wondering why you can't get through to them. You're wondering why recruitment is so difficult. And as we spoke to more and more people through kind of different frontline industries, we just discovered that there was this enormous challenge when it came to scaling recruitment, trying to save their people time, yet trying to offer an amazing candidate experience. And so that was kind of enough reason for us to really double down. As you can tell, I'm not a recruiter by background. My background is actually as a product designer, a software designer. So very passionate about making easy and simple to use experiences for people. And Mercu, where does the name come from? So we are founded and actually headquartered in Singapore, and Mercu is a Bahasa Melayu word which means to reach the summit or the summit.
Oh, wow.
And so we just thought that was a really nice connection. It keeps us rooted in Southeast Asia, which we love.
That's a great name.
Yeah, isn't it?
I really
Thank
like
you.
that story.
Yeah, I like it when it's not just, it was a made-up word. We just made it up.
Yeah.
But no, that's really,
Combined
really good.
two words, and the .com was and the .com was available.
Don't you hear that a lot? It's funny, like, people ask me, oh, Harvey, like my dog, you named him after the guy off Suits. No, I named him after my grandfather.
Yeah.
Just little things. It's nice
Much
to have
more
a good
touching.
story.
It is.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's a really nice story, isn't it? But it sounds like you're hearing things like that about hotel chains, like printing stuff out. I'm like, holy shit, what boomers are running this show?
It's 2021. Well, this was 2021. It was like, come on, what are we doing? Why are we emailing kids? If we're emailing kids, we're calling them, we're expecting them to actually like respond or pick up the phone. Like, are you kidding me? Like, how often do you pick up the phone these days, right? Most of the time it's spam. So it's just, we need to move with the times.
I do agree with you a lot in that sense, but let's get under the hood of Mercu. Righto. So you're automating all repetitive recruiter tasks such as candidate screening, communications, interview scheduling in a high volume hiring space.
Yeah. And you know what, Elliot? so often when we speak to vendors, they want to talk about what they do and what features they have in their tech and everything, but not many really want to talk down and drill down about the problem. So we want to talk to you about a few problems before we even have a look at Mercu. So what are the challenges do you think facing recruitment teams in the high volume space right now?
Yeah, by the way, I think that's a big problem. I think everyone's saying almost the same thing these days. Everyone, I think with AI as well, especially, everyone's saying that they can do the same. And so it's certainly not easy being someone in HR or talent looking at solutions to the problems they have. And so, yeah, really kind of happy to speak to some of the problems and hopefully give some new insights that people can take away that don't require working with Mercu to try and solve or implement, sorry. So yeah, let's talk kind of briefly at a high level, and I think this will not necessarily be new to everyone immediately, but frontline work has very high turnover. This is not a problem that's going to go away anytime soon, which means that teams are almost always hiring. So that's problem number one, not new. I think we're all aware of this at this point.
Yeah.
The second thing is that, of course, recently everyone is being pushed to do more with less. Teams at HQ are being downsized, which means more responsibility is being put on frontline managers, especially for recruitment. And they're also being asked to do more with less on the front line. And yet they're saying, hey, where do I find the time now to spend 2 or 3 hours a day trying to recruit and backfill for this very high turnover I have? I think the third thing that isn't spoken enough about, and we kind of just touched on it, is that candidate expectations are really changing as well. We live in a world where almost everything is immediate and everything is a really designed and intentional and user-friendly experience, whether it's kind of, ordering food or maybe topping up your train card. It's all relatively easy these days. Yeah. But then actually you go to a lot of these employers and you try applying for a job. By the way, Yasha, my co-founder, does a really amazing kind of like roast my careers page, which you should have a look at on LinkedIn. It does it every Friday. And you look at what it's just like to just apply for a simple weekend job at a well-known quick service restaurant, and you've got to jump through hoops. You've got to go through 20 odd steps. Then you've got to wait for a week to hear back from someone. That poor person that's responsible for getting back to you is busy running a restaurant. And it's just not a great experience for everyone. And, we can kind of go on and we can dive more into this. But yeah, that's kind of the top 3 issues.
I think you're right. Like if you look at candidate expectations these days, right? They can go to a restaurant and order everything they want off a QR code. They can do all sorts of things online in terms of shopping. So these normal day-to-day interactions have become so much easier. So in their minds, why can't a recruitment process be easier for them? And why can't we get instant feedback to a question or all those sorts of things? And it's fair enough question to ask, to be honest.
And I think too that these are jobs where you're not launching rockets. You're not curing cancer. You're in a service industry, you're in a frontline industry, as you were saying, high volume, high turnover. And these jobs should be easy to apply to and easy to get.
Yeah.
I think that's why we're so frustrated with high turnover, because the cost of trying to replace someone is so high because we know how long it's going to take. And I think that's probably sometimes why candidates or people stay in jobs longer than they need to, because actually they're thinking, oh, it's such a pain in the ass to have to go and apply somewhere else and jump through all those loops. I think, wouldn't it be amazing if there was a world where it's like we just accept that, yes, turnover is going to be higher than we would like it to be, but that's okay because we can immediately find people, and people, when they want to leave a job to find a job somewhere else, can actually really quickly and easily do that. It's just not the case right now. Right, there are so many solutions popping up as well. Like, I don't want to kind of drag anyone through the mud, and I won't name names, but we talk about, let's say, building like an AI screening recruiter that calls someone. What 18-year-old is going to pick up the phone to a random phone call that says they're an AI agent and kind of not be completely kind of blown away and confused by that? So I think it's great that people are moving with the times, but it's also just like trying to really think about that candidate experience, be really realistic about what's going to work and what's not.
Yeah, so let's look at a couple of the case studies that we've gone through. Let's really talk about the nitty-gritty instead of giving the overview, and really let our listeners know what we can do. Now, Craig and I split these, so we made it a bit easier for us, not so much you. So I'm going to look at Decathlon. Now, before partnering with you guys over at Mercu, Decathlon used emails to communicate interview scheduling and reminders with candidates. This meant each month the company's 3-person recruitment team had to manually follow up on 300 applicants, an effort that collectively cost more than 100 hours 100 people hours per month. That's a bloody lot of time. So they faced several obstacles in their recruiting process, which was inconsistent candidate experience across different stores, slow application processes and delayed response time, store leaders spending valuable time on recruitment admin tasks, just detracting from serving the customers and the money-making whole purpose of the business, really. So you guys did an out-of-the-box offering for these guys, didn't you?
We did. Actually, they were one of our very first customers in Singapore. And we really sat with them to, exactly as you've just gone through, Lauren, understand how they're doing things today and really try and dream up what would be the best possible experience for candidates, what would be the best possible experience for their store leaders and their recruiters at head office. They were running a hybrid model where they did have a recruitment team at head office, and then they also had their store leaders that had to complement that and reach out to candidates. And as the case study says, that was all being done via email. Now, the thing about Singapore, and increasingly so about Australia, New Zealand as well, is that work and personal life is converging onto chat apps like WhatsApp. WhatsApp is no longer just the place where you talk with your family and friends. It's often where you're in a group with your colleagues. It's often in Southeast Asia where you actually can find a job, where you can even buy a house. And that's increasingly becoming commonplace in Australia. And so what we said to Decathlon was, hey, Singapore is an ultra competitive market. It's a race to secure the best talent. What is the absolute fastest way to reach people at scale? And short of being able to have a kind of chip in everyone's brain where you can kind of whisper sweet things about working, at their amazing company to them directly, the other best way is to message them, where they already spend all of their time already, which is chat apps like WhatsApp and SMS. And that's really the key, right? Imagine a world where everyone has an AI recruiter, which is screening through resumes, which is scheduling interviews, which is onboarding your new candidates. What's going to be the thing that actually makes the difference? It's going to be who can connect with the candidate in the most meaningful way that can make it as easy as possible for the candidate to provide more information, to complete a video interview, to schedule an interview. That's who's going to win. And so we just work with them to really give them that edge in Singapore. How can they communicate as quickly as possible with as many people in Singapore before anyone else does, before everyone else is trying to, contact these amazing candidates?
Yeah. I think that you used the word there, easy too, and that's something that not only candidates but also recruiters need. So anytime they partner with someone outside of their team, whether it be a solution or whether it be a group of people, it needs to be simple. And what I really like, and I'll talk about my case study in a minute, but both case studies had an integration element, and anybody who is bringing tech into a talent team, that'll be almost, apart from how's it going to make my life easier and what's the cost, the next question is going to be, will it integrate with what we've got, or how does it integrate? So maybe even with Decathlon, and then we'll move on to Guzman and Gomez, how do the integration pieces work?
Yeah, the reality of frontline hiring is that you don't just have a head office team. You also have potentially hundreds of frontline managers that also need to use that tool. And so the task of switching people to a new platform is enormous. It's not simple as, hey, these 3 people use a new platform, easy. The change management of getting potentially hundreds of people to switch is an almost impossible task to start thinking about. And so we from day one, we said we need to integrate with anyone that will integrate with us, including any applicant tracking system. So in Decathlon's case, they were using Workable, one of the kind of new age applicant tracking systems that does have open APIs. And so rather than requiring their managers to jump into Mercu to do any of the interview coordination, we just plug directly into Workable. When the hiring manager simply changes the status of the candidate in Workable, it automatically triggers Mercu. Amazing. Any actions that the candidate takes in Mercu are automatically posted back to the candidate's profile in Workable. And so for the frontline manager, actually nothing's changed. The only thing that's changed is they no longer have to sit there emailing, calling candidates. Instead, they change the status. The next thing they know is they get a notification when the candidate's completed a quick video screening or booked an interview with them.
And from your website, just an update on integrations, just to let people know that you're integrated currently with Livehire, Workday, Smart Recruiters, PageUp, Lever, Workable, SAP SuccessFactors, Talos, Team Tailor, Dayforce, Talent Lift, Tandu, Google Sheets, Monday, and Deputy. And I'm sure there's a couple of others there that have come since I've looked at it. But for a relatively new-ish product on the market, that is an amazing list of integrations you've already got up your sleeve.
We just think it's essential. There's not a question of if we should. In fact, if we have a customer, it doesn't matter how big they are, come to us and say, we use this existing tool in our stack, we don't want to switch from this existing tool, will you integrate with them? As long as that is a platform that has open APIs, that's easy to work with, we will then go and do the work to make sure that we play well alongside it.
That's nice and easy. So the thing that I really was amazed with this decathlon case study that you've done, you reduced the time to hire has dropped from 30 days to 7 days for retail staff. You've increased interview attendance, soared by 33%. Which is huge, reaching an 87% show-up rate on average. For a frontline, that's really, really good, I've got to say. And your AI assistant, you have it toned into Decathlon's tone and tone of voice for their company, which is amazing. And it answers over 92% of their inbound candidate questions. That is freed up like a whole bloody person.
Exactly. No, they're fantastic results. I'd love to say it's all Mercu, but of course, I think that there's definitely certain things.
It's just you, Elliot.
All us. There's definitely things that they've been able to do that they didn't have the time to do prior to working with us, which has helped those metrics as well. But just on time to hire. The reason it was taking so long is a couple of reasons. There were only so many candidates that they could deal with in a given day because the store leaders had to sort through them. And then because the store leaders, it's probably the thing that they got to at the end of the day when they had spare 5 minutes. They couldn't dedicate, all day, every day to processing them. And so naturally things, extended a little bit. Then you had the way that previously they were organizing interviews. Just took them a lot back and forth with candidates just to schedule them in. By making it really seamless and easy for candidates to pick a time that works for them, turns out they show up that much sooner. They don't book for 3 or 4 weeks out, they book for next week. And again, this is where it really comes back to the candidate experience. Candidates, get nervous before an interview. They have lots of questions. They don't know what they should wear. They don't know where the nearest train station is. If they need to reschedule, can they? And just by giving them that kind of on-demand AI assistant where they can have a back and forth conversation with, what should I wear? What do I need to bring? What's going to happen on the day? Again, it turns out it makes people more comfortable showing up. And so Singapore has a big problem with interview no-shows. Australia does as well, certainly not to the same extent. But just by making people more comfortable, by sending them reminders via WhatsApp and SMS to make sure that they actually show up, people do attend in a much greater number than before.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Now, before we jump on, I'm going to go a bit down a rabbit hole here with you two. You don't know this one's coming.
Uh-oh.
So you took us through a demo.
Yes, you did.
Yes. Yeah.
So Craig and I had to apply for a job at Baby Bunting, and that was fun. One thing that we did realise that Craig is not allowed to work with children. But it was a really easy way to go through because you had us applying to your ATS and everything with Mercu. We were getting the prompts out on WhatsApp in like real time, and it was running through our questions. We were answering the pre-screening questions really quickly, and you were showing how it was moving us through the ATS as we were answering the questions, and it was coming through and moving it. Yes, this person's deemed worthy for an interview or a call, etc., etc. And it was so darn easy. I've got to say that. It was amazing. It was really amazing.
Thank you. Is a paid sponsorship. But
I thought it was really good. I could go through that process, and Craig and I can be a bit competitive. The world knows that.
Yeah, there was a good race that went on.
Oh, it was a great race. I enjoyed doing it, and I was really, really impressed with the AI tech you've got in that background.
Yeah, it's about speed, right? It fundamentally comes down to that. Like the idea that when I apply to a job, it might take you a week to get back to me. If I'm the ideal candidate, right? If I can do the job, I have the right training, I have the right certificates, I have the right experience, I can do the hours that you need, and I can start when you need me to. You should be making it as easy as possible for me to come and meet one of your team in person or on a video call as quickly as possible. I shouldn't be waiting more than a minute more than necessary, because chances are, as a candidate, I haven't just applied to one place, I've applied to 5. And really, who can engage with them again in the most meaningful, easy way, frictionless way for that candidate to come and meet you in person, where you can, as an individual, shine, your company can really shine. Any additional friction is an opportunity for you to miss out on securing the best talent.
Yeah, and I think it's great too because part of the process was locking in a time for an interview. So I think we did I want to say we did it on a Thursday or Friday, Lauren, and I set my interview for the Monday of the next week when I was accepted. And I did over the weekend get a number of prompts or reminders, but they were very gentle and nice. They were sort of like, more guiding as opposed to make sure you turn up. It was sort of like, don't forget you've got an interview on so-and-so with so-and-so at so-and-so. Is there anything you need in the interim? Blah, blah, blah. It was really, really good and guided, and I can see why it's really been affecting the interview no-show ratios, because like you said from the outset, people want to correspond these days on WhatsApp or text, right? They don't want this done via email. They don't want this done by direct phone calls. It's not the way of the world, especially in frontline roles, which is a slightly younger generation ordinarily in those high volume roles. And to communicate in that way not only makes sense, but the ease of getting those messages through and guiding through a process is it's on point, isn't it?
The reality is that someone isn't going to be, an 18-year-old isn't going to be adding their interview to their calendar, or most won't be adding it to their calendar. And so
they don't even add Mother's Day. So what the fuck do you think they're going to do with an interview for?
Well, it was my mum's birthday yesterday, and I remembered. I was the very first person to call her. Yeah.
Shout out Elliot's mum, happy birthday.
Shout out Ilsa. You've got to make it easy. Again, they're going to forget. And so 24 hours before, you get a reminder. Here are some things that you need to bring. If you have any questions, don't worry, we're there. You can ask us. If you need to reschedule, life happens. We also make it really easy for you to do that. 2 hours before, hey, heads up, interview's coming up, time to get ready. Here's the nearest train station. It's just, it's trying to be just really human, right? We're professional recruiters. We've been around for a lot longer than maybe a 20-year-old trying to get their first job over the holiday season. It's scary. It's really intimidating. Make it super easy for them, give them an amazing first impression of your company, and, make it super easy for the store teams and recruitment teams at HQ to schedule them in. But again, those that give the best candidate experience, those that make it the fastest, the most seamless, will be the ones that naturally attract better and more talent in the long run.
Yeah. And what I liked is you could ask questions via the WhatsApp integration. Yeah. Yesterday or the day before, I had a problem with my bank online. So I was online in the bank trying to get through customer service via the bot, if you like. And all they kept giving me was a list of things that I could talk to them about, but it wasn't what I wanted them to talk about. It just kept looping through. It was as frustrating as hell. But what we found with this process is it's almost like interacting with a person, right? And I'm sure that any of your clients can add their own voice and tone to the way they communicate as well.
Yeah, exactly. Behind it is a relatively simple AI prompt, which I'm sure other guests have discussed, where you basically say, you're this person helping to advise candidates to ensure that they show up, that they have everything they need, and your tone of voice is this. And so as part of onboarding a new customer, we'll sit down. What's your brand tone of voice? If you don't have that, we'll help you to define it. What are the really important materials that you're...
Craig.
Yeah?
Yeah, you can
What's
have
the license fee? What's the license fee for a Craig?
Nice and cheap. I was just saying this morning, everybody's calling most people are calling their bots a name. Like there was something today, Ask Fred.
Yeah.
I don't think Craig's taken yet.
Ask Craig. I like it.
Yeah, it's not the best name.
We haven't named ours yet. We're I don't know whether we're behind the curve or taking an intentionally different route, but I think everyone's trying to make AI seem like a person. It's not a person. I think that people can tell that it's not as well. And so we're always very upfront of being hey, you've got an AI assistant there for you. Ask away. We don't try and hide that. And then
maybe we could call it Astro.
Astro.
Ooh,
I actually really like Astro.
She'll charge you for that too. If you use it, she'll start charging.
It seems a bit supernatural. We've got it on camera. It seems a bit supernatural. I like that. It's not a human trying to be. It's not an AI trying to be human. It's an alien. Yeah, much better.
Astro the AI bot.
She really like that, Lauren.
We were super impressed when we went through the demo, and it's not because this is a paid sponsorship. Both Lauren and I walked away and said, "Oh my god!" As a recruiter in the high volume space in frontline, this will save you so much of that boring,
It's so
repetitive time
freaking
that
easy.
you don't want to do. And also, not only recruiters, but like you mentioned a bit earlier, but in frontline, particularly like retail and also I think restaurants too, the managers tend to get stuck with a lot of the recruitment process, organise the interview, and they're too busy to do it. And this does it all for them to an extent. So I guess you explained it to us on the day, but if from a let's say a store manager perspective, and they had to bring someone in, they had X number of interviews come through. How does it work out when that person's free in their calendar to arrange interviews?
Great setup. Exactly. Often this falls on store managers. Really, really busy. And actually, there are two different ways that they can schedule interviews. One is the dream scenario where they diligently keep their calendar up to date. They've got all of their working hours. They've got the store opening hours. They've slotted in all of their existing interviews and responsibilities and one-on-ones and all of these things. They're all there. How often does that happen? I don't know. Probably less than 10% of the time. But for that person, Mercu connects to your calendar. It will offer your availability when you're free. You can set time slots. Perfect. Seamless. I wish that everyone did that because it would make life a lot easier.
My calendar's up to date.
Gold star.
Thank you.
The reality is often very different. And so what happens today is someone will act as a go-between between that hiring manager and the candidate, and basically sort of play a bit of a game of cat and mouse of like, when are you available? Oh, I'm available at this time. Okay, does that match you? No, I'm not. And this back and forth again slows things down, right? Again, any sort of wasted time is wasted time for the hiring manager, but it's also a moment for the candidate to get contacted by someone else, which we don't want to happen. And so what we do on Mercu, we call this auto match, is when candidates get moved into a schedule stage with a hiring manager, the very first thing that will happen is actually the hiring manager will get sent a WhatsApp or SMS, and it will say, hey, we've got 5 candidates that we think you would love to meet. Please respond with 5 times that you're available. They really easily key in those 5 times. Only once they've done that do they actually get sent off to the candidate. The candidate can then pick from those times. Once it's confirmed, hiring manager gets sent a WhatsApp.
So
You've idiot-proofed it for the likes
People are
of Craig.
busy. People are busy.
Elliot, you said right at the start of this that you don't come from a recruitment background. How are you hitting these recruitment problems so easily when most people don't? Like, Lauren, you must agree that being that intermediary or the conduit between a hiring manager and a candidate and trying to organise is the bane of a recruiter's existence. If you can take that away, and not only take it away from the recruiter, but help the hiring manager, God, it fixes so many things.
So many freaking hiring managers, if you hear it so many times, I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for 20 years. Oh, shit.
It's a full-time job. I've heard this. Schedulers is a full-time job apparently for some tech companies that I've heard of.
Yeah.
How do we hear about this? As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm a software designer. My co-founder Yasha, he's a product manager, and I think fundamentally what comes with that is truly trying to understand customers in not just the surface level, right? It means like spending time with them on the ground. It means spending time in their office. It means being available at 11 o'clock at night when they've got an idea. It means speaking to the candidates individually, right? It's kind of get out of the ivory tower, and it really is like meet your customers, meet your candidates as frequently as often. Listen to them. Also try and listen to like maybe what they're not saying, because they might tell you that they need this, and there's often kind of an underlying reason as well. And I think for both of us, it's trying to get to the crux of it, the truth of it. So that's us.
Bloody brilliant.
I know. It's excellent. And I just think, well done. You've actually identified a problem and found a solution, where quite often you see people create a solution without a problem.
Well, we're guilty of that sometimes as well. I mean, we last year when
problem, Craig. Can you solve that?
Well, we can maybe chat afterwards. I think last year, I think everyone's guilty of this sometimes. We saw obviously ChatGPT exploding, and we thought, well, we need to, I think along with a lot of other people in the HR space, we need to jump on top of this and get ahead of it. And so, of course, what was the first thing that came to mind? Chatbot for candidates to ask questions. We frankly built that before anyone was kind of knocking on our door saying, like, please, can you do that? The insight that we had is that we saw that candidates were were asking questions on WhatsApp. And at that time, it would just respond and say like, hey, please reach out to this person to ask any questions that you have. But we certainly have, embraced the kind of new changes that are happening in AI, maybe before there was an obvious need to. Again, I think lots of people are guilty of this, but thankfully in our case, it turned out that candidates did really want to be able to ask questions and get immediate responses.
Hey, one of the other really good things that I liked when I went through your website was that you offer on-website comparisons with other products that might be similar and offer similar solutions. So, you've got Comparison Paradox, Sapir AI, Grayscale, Express, Hubert, Recrubo. That's commendable because, I didn't look at the comparisons, but to actually put it out there and go, well, this lot can do this, and this is where we either match or exceed, or where we don't do it. That's something that makes it very
owning yourself and owning what you can and can't do, owning your shit basically. And I think that is taking the high moral ground.
I just think it's not easy. I think this is where we try and apply this like designed experience to someone that might want to buy and work with Mercu. You go onto a lot of these websites, you've got no idea how much they cost. You've got to speak to someone first. If you go to mercu.com/pricing, our pricing's there. It's transparent. We start at $700 a month. It goes up if you speak to more candidates each month. We're really transparent about that. And I think it's the HR software world needs people to be transparent because I think so many people say the same thing, right? Everyone's got fantastic case studies of time savings and cost savings, but often trying to get the truth from some companies can be quite difficult. And so we just try and be radically transparent on our website.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like, this is amazing. I can highly recommend this product, everyone. Get on the website, have a look around, and book a freaking demo. You too could be working at Baby Bunting with myself because Craig can't.
Yeah,
and I'll show you a demo on the first call. There'll be no secrets. Don't worry. I'm not gonna ask you 10 questions. I'm not gonna ask you to kind of like tell me all of your secrets. If you just want to see a demo and you want to see what we can do, I will show you.
And the best way to contact you or Mercu is it via the website or via LinkedIn? What would be the best way?
You can go to mercu.com. You can go to LinkedIn. You can see some of our Roast My Career page. Mercu, if you search that, we should be the first result. Those are the two best ways. You'll come through to either myself or my co-founder Yasha directly. We're still a startup. You'll still get to chat with us, and we'll just have an honest conversation. I'm not a salesperson. I don't know really the first thing about sales. We'll just see exactly what you want to try and do and if we can help you with it.
Passion will sell it, my friend.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Well, everybody, I do believe that is a goodbye from me.
Thanks very much, Elliot. We really appreciate you spending time with us today, and a goodbye from me too, everyone.